You seriously want me to hand my national scholarship slot to her? Again, my voice carried, and the whole senior assembly went silent all at once. Vanessa Blake stood a few feet away, a folded prep course invoice clutched in one hand, my printed recommendation form in the other. Her glossy smile split down the middle. Derek Walsh lounged against the stage, Letterman jacket hanging open, that rich boy grin already loaded and ready. Mr. Grant, our senior counselor, cradled the microphone against his chest like he still had a grip on the room. Vanessa lifted her chin and lowered her voice into something soft and pleading. Ethan, don't make this ugly. You know I need this more than you do. I closed the distance and pulled my recommendation form right out of her hand. Chair screeched. Somebody sucked in a breath. Derek barked out a laugh. Relax, grease boy. You fix cars after school anyway. Pick up one more shift and let Vanessa have a real future. I raised the form high enough for every senior in Westbridge High to read the name across the top. Mine. No, I said flatly. I'm done setting my future on fire to keep hers warm. Vanessa's eyes went wide. She pressed the invoice against her sweater. Ethan, please. My mom can't cover this. You promised you'd help me. I pointed at the paper, trembling in her hand. I promised to tutor you for 2 weeks. You stretched that into 2 years of free homework, free essays, free projects, and free cash. The back rows started a buzz. Vanessa shook her head fast. That's not true. Derek shoved off the stage and came at me. Watch your mouth. Vanessa doesn't need to steal from anybody. I dug into my backpack, yanked out a thick folder, and slapped it down on the nearest chair. The sound cracked across the auditorium. Then she won't mind if I show everyone. Mr. Grant leaned into the mic. Ethan Miller, sit down. Now. I turned to him. No, sir. Last time I sat down, you handed my slot away. The room froze all over again. Mr. Grant's face twitched. Vanessa whispered something I didn't catch. I flipped the folder open and lifted the first page. Text message, September 3rd. Vanessa asked me to write the first draft of her college essay because, and I'm quoting, her, you sound smarter when you write. Mike Reynolds shot up from the third row. Read the next one, Ethan. I turned the page. October 12th. She asked me to skip my practice SAT so I could rebuild her science fair model. Vanessa lunged. Give me that. I stepped back. Mike threw out an arm to block her. Touch him, Mike said, hard and even, and the principal seized the camera feed. Derek shoved Mike's shoulder. Move. Mike shoved right back. Try me, trust fund. Mr. Grant came storming down the aisle. This is a scholarship assembly, not a circus. I held up the third page before he reached me. November 6th. I paid $480 for Vanessa's prep class. She wrote, I'll pay you back after admissions. She never did. A girl in the second row muttered, wait. She told everyone her church covered that. Vanessa spun toward her. Why are you doing this to me? I looked from the seniors to Mr. Grant. Because today she wanted my recommendation slot, my essay help, and another $700. And because Mr. Grant was about to tell me that a real man knows how to sacrifice. Mr. Grant stopped dead halfway down the aisle. Near the side door, Principal Marsh stood with her arms folded. Ms. Harper, my math teacher, stood beside her holding a clipboard. Mr. Grant forced a thin laugh. That is not what I was going to say. I pulled out my phone and hit play. Mike had already plugged it into the AV jack, and Mr. Grant's own voice crackled through the auditorium speakers. Ethan, you're gifted. But Vanessa represents the school better. Colleges notice polish. You have to learn when to step aside. The room detonated. Vanessa clapped a hand over her mouth. Derek cursed. Mr. Grant shouted, turn that off. I let it run 3 more seconds, then unplugged it. No more stepping aside. Principal Marsh walked to the front. Mr. Miller, bring those materials to my office after the assembly. Derek smirked. There it is. You're finished. She rounded on him. Mr. Walsh, sit down before I call your father and explain why his name keeps surfacing in a recommendation review. Derek's smirk died. I shut the folder, kept my form in hand, and walked back to my seat. Vanessa stood stranded in the aisle, still holding her unpaid bill. Ethan, she called after me. You're going to regret humiliating me. I stopped without turning. No, Vanessa. I already regretted helping you. Mike slapped the seat beside him. About time, man. I sat down. The rest of the assembly limped along. Mr. Grant read names like he was chewing glass. When he reached mine, his voice came out flat. Ethan Miller, National Merit Academic Challenge nominee. Nobody clapped at first. Then MS. Harper clapped once. Mike clapped harder. A few others joined in. Vanessa stayed on her feet until Principal Marsh told her to sit. After the bell, the hallway turned into a courtroom. Phones came out. Whispers moved faster than slamming lockers. Vanessa's friend Amber Foster cut me off near the trophy case. You could have talked to her privately, she snapped. I kept the folder pinned to my side. She asked for my spot in front of the whole school. Amber Foster jabbed a finger at me. She's under pressure. Mike stepped up beside me. So is Ethan's family. Funny how nobody passed a collection bucket for him. Derek rounded the corner with 3 guys from the team. Miller, you better delete that recording. I opened my locker and grabbed my calculus book. Already copied it. His jaw tightened. You think being good at tests makes you untouchable? I shut the locker. No, I think evidence makes liars sweat. A few students snickered. Derek stepped in and knocked his shoulder into mine. I didn't budge. Mike raised his phone. Smile, Derek. Your dad loves school spirit. Derek stared into the lens, then backed off. Vanessa drifted past with red eyes and a flawless wounded expression. Just loud enough for everyone, she said. I hope getting revenge makes you happy. I matched her volume exactly. I hope doing your own work teaches you something. A few seniors laughed. Her face hardened for half a second before she buried it under a shaky breath and hurried off. By lunch, the first post landed on the school forum. The headline read, Ethan Miller humiliates Vanessa Blake after she rejects him. Mike shoved his phone in front of me while we stood in the cafeteria line. She works fast. I skimmed the opening lines. Vanessa claimed I'd been obsessed with her since sophomore year, that I'd offered to help, and then turned cruel when she wouldn't date me. I handed the phone back and picked up a tray. Print shop open. Mike grinned. Always. We skipped the line and hit the library printer. 27 pages. Payment screenshots, essay drafts covered in my margin notes, project files stamped with timestamps, texts where she begged for help, texts where she called Derek useful but dumb. Mike whistled at that last one. Oh, this one deserves its own frame. Print 3 copies, I said. By 12:21, the cafeteria was packed. Vanessa held court at the center table, Amber Foster and half the cheer squad orbiting her. Derek sat beside her like a bodyguard with a credit card. I walked to the announcement board by the lunch counter and pinned the first page. Then the next. Then the next. Conversation died row by row. Amber Foster jumped up. What are you doing? I kept pinning, correcting the record. Vanessa rushed over. Those are private. I turned and held up an essay draft. Then why did you turn my private work in under your name? The cafeteria roared. Derek came fast, grabbing for the pages, and Mike planted himself in the way. You tear one page, I upload all of it. You're dead, Reynolds, Derek said through his teeth. Mike pointed to the security dome over the soda machine. On camera, genius. Vanessa snatched a page and froze when she saw which one. Her own words sat there in black ink. Can you make my essay sound less basic? You're better at the poor people struggle stuff. A senior named Carla read over her shoulder. Wow. Vanessa's cheeks went white. I took the page from her fingers and pinned it back up. That's the part she wanted me to write for her. A struggle story. Someone at the football table called out, Damn, Vanessa. Amber Foster shrieked. Everyone shut up. Ethan's twisting this. I pulled out my phone and played the voice memo she'd sent 3 months earlier. Vanessa's recorded voice filled the room. Ethan, please just write the opening. You know how to make poverty sound noble. I don't know how to say it without sounding fake. The cafeteria exploded. Vanessa slapped the phone out of my hand. It skittered under a chair. Mike scooped it up and held it high. Still recording principal. Marsh's voice sliced through the chaos. Everyone, back to your tables. She marched in with Ms. Harper and the vice principal. Mr. Grant trailed behind them, sweat beading at his collar. Vanessa spun instantly. He's attacking me. I pointed at the board. No, I'm documenting academic dishonesty. Mr. Grant snapped. You're creating a hostile environment. MS. Harper stepped to the board and read 2 pages without blinking. This goes to the Academic Review Committee. Mr. Grant shot her a look. We can handle it internally. Like you handle my recommendation, I said. Principal Marsh turned to me. Mr. Miller, my office. Now, Ms. Harper, bring the documents. Derek Mutat, Rat. I turned back. Thief. His chair scraped hard. The vice principal pointed. See, Derek. Then my office. Vanessa wept without any tears. Her mother showed up 18 minutes later in sunglasses, clutching a designer purse. Derek's father called the school before Derek even got there. Mr. Grant sat beside Vanessa like defense counsel. Ms. Harper sat beside me with the folder open. Principal Marsh laced her hands together. We're reviewing 2 matters. First, the scholarship nomination. Second, potential academic misconduct. Mrs. Blake leaned in. My daughter is a straight-A student and a community volunteer. This boy has clearly targeted her. I slid a page across the table. That's her asking me to rewrite her volunteer essay because she only showed up twice. Mrs. Blake didn't touch it. I was overwhelmed, Vanessa whispered. MS. Harper's voice stayed level. Overwhelmed students ask for tutoring. They don't submit another student's writing. Mr. Grant cleared his throat. We should be careful not to punish collaboration. Ethan and Vanessa have worked closely for years. I leaned forward, then asked her to explain the final line of her science fair algorithm. Vanessa blinked. Mr. Grant frowned. I opened my laptop and turned it toward Principal Marsh. Her state fair submission ran on my model. Ask her what line 42 does. Marsh looked at Vanessa. Vanessa. She wiped her cheek. It controls the output. What output? Ms. Harper asked. Vanessa glanced at Mr. Grant, who jumped in. This is too technical for an office meeting. I tapped the screen. It strips duplicate readings from a cheap soil moisture rig. She called it a climate equity predictor because that sounded better. MS. Harper pressed her lips flat. Principal Marsh wrote something down. Are you enjoying this? Mrs. Blake snapped. No, ma'am, I said. I'm ending it. Derek walked in without knocking. My dad says nobody signs anything until he talks to the district. Principal Marsh looked over her glasses. Your father isn't in this room, and you aren't in this meeting. He pointed at me. He's been stalking Vanessa. I pulled another page. Then why did you text me last week asking me to fix her scholarship essay before Friday? Derek froze. Mike had forwarded me the screenshot after lunch. Derek had used his own number. Ms. Harper read it aloud. Do the essay, and I'll make sure people stop calling your dad a truck monkey. The air went sharp. You can wait outside, Marsh told him. This is garbage. Vice Principal Cole appeared in the doorway. Outside, Derek kicked the frame on his way out. Marsh turned back to me. Mr. Miller, your nomination stays active during review. Ms. Blake's is suspended pending investigation. Vanessa gasped. Mrs. Blake shot to her feet. You can't do that. I just did. Mr. Grant stood too. This will damage her college applications. So would fraud, said Ms. Harper. Vanessa looked at me across the table. Please don't do this. I gather my papers. Do your own work, Vanessa. That afternoon my phone buzzed until the battery hit 4%. Half the school wanted details. The other half wanted me to shut up. At 3:10, I walked the 6 blocks to Lawson's garage. Mr. Lawson had a Buick up on the lift and classic rock on the radio. He saw my face and tossed me a rag. School circus? I wiped oil off a wrench. Same clowns, louder tent. He laughed. You still coming Saturday? Yes, sir. But I'm cutting back after this month. National exams in 7 weeks. He nodded. Good. Your hand can fix cars. Your brain can get you out from under them. At 4:02, Vanessa walked in wearing a cream coat that had no business near motor oil. Derek waited outside in his black SUV, engine idling. Mr. Lawson glanced up from the Buick. Can we talk? She asked softly. I kept tightening a battery terminal. Talk. She looked at Mr. Lawson. Privately. My garage, my ears, he barked. She folded her arms. You made your point. Please take the post down. Colleges watch this stuff. They also watch plagiarism. She stepped closer, dropping her voice. You don't understand what this could do to me. I clicked the wrench. I understand exactly. Her tone turned to a blade. You're punishing me because I didn't pick you. Mr. Lawson looked at me. I stood and wiped my hands clean. You asked me for money, essays, homework, and a scholarship slot. I said clear and steady. Not once did you ask me on a date. Mr. Lawson laughed once. Vanessa flushed. Derek climbed out and came in. You really want trouble in front of your boss. Mr. Lawson stepped around the Buick, a tire iron in his fist. Kid, I've pulled engines heavier than your ego. Don't start. Derek stopped. I grabbed my backpack. Vanessa, your suspended nomination is between you and the school. Your fake essays are between you and the colleges. Your prep bill is between you and whoever actually owes it. None of that is me. Her eyes went flat. Fine. Then don't come crying when nobody at school will talk to you. I go there to graduate. Derek sneered. You'll graduate alone. Mike's voice floated in from the open bay door. He's got me, idiot. He strolled in eating chips out of a crumpled bag. Derek rolled his eyes. Great. The pit crew. Mike flicked a chip at him. Better than being Vanessa's purse dog. Derek lunged. Mr. Lawson slammed the tire iron against the concrete. The clang stopped everyone cold. Vanessa grabbed Derek's sleeve. Leave it. They left. Derek peeled out so hard the tires screamed. Mr. Lawson watched the SUV vanish. That boy drives like his insurance has rich parents. I went back to work. Mike leaned on a toolbox. Forum's on fire. Good. Bad fire, too. Amber Foster's saying you forged the messages. Then tomorrow we show the metadata. Mike grinned. I love new words that make liars cry. The next morning, Amber Foster ambushed my locker with 2 cheerleaders and a crowd. She'd printed her own poster, "Stop harassing Vanessa," in big red letters, and slapped it on the locker beside mine. Real men don't bully girls, she announced. I opened my locker. Real friends don't cover fraud. She shoved the poster against my chest. Apologize. I let it fall to the floor. No. She stepped closer. Then we'll make sure every college sees who you really are. I pulled a flash drive from my pocket. Perfect. They can see the original files, too. Amber Foster hesitated. Vanessa appeared at the end of the hall, surrounded like she was arriving for a trial. Mr. Grant walked behind her and pointed at me. Ethan, my office. I shut my locker. No meeting without Ms. Harper. His face tightened. You don't dictate terms to faculty. Ms. Harper's voice came from behind him. He can request another staff member present. The hallway shifted. Mr. Grant turned slowly. She held a laptop bag and a stack of exam packets. You seem very invested, he said coldly. In academic integrity, she said. Yes, Mike whispered. Round 2. In his office, Mr. Grant tried a softer tone. Ethan, you're a bright young man, but this path could make you look vindictive. I set the flash drive on his desk, then reviewed the files and clear it up. Vanessa sat in the corner, hands clasped. I never meant to hurt you. I looked at Mr. Grant. Is that part of the review? Ms. Harper coughed into her hand. He ignored her. Vanessa's application profile is delicate. Your accusations could cost her scholarships. Her actions could cost her scholarships. He leaned back. You're not seeing the bigger picture. Westbridge has relationships with certain universities. Vanessa's a strong representative. I pulled out my phone. He stopped talking. I set on the desk, screen up. Keep going. He glared. Are you recording me? School policy lets students record disciplinary meetings if all parties are notified. Consider this notice. Ms. Harper looked at him. He's correct. Mr. Grant stood. Meeting over. I picked up the flash drive. Great. I'll submit this to Principal Marsh and the district office. Sit down. I didn't. No, sir. Outside, Derek blocked the hallway. You think Harper saves you? My dad paid for the new science wing. I moved past him. He grabbed my backpack strap. I spun, caught his wrist, and lifted it where the security camera could see. Take your hand off me. Heads turned. He yanked free. You're scared. I pointed at the camera. You're recorded. Mike hooped from the stairs. Laughter rolled down the hall. Derek shoved through the crowd and left. By Friday, the academic review committee met after school. Vanessa came with her mother. Derek came with his father, a red-faced man in an expensive suit. I came with my dad, in his work jacket, boots still dusty from truck yard. Dad shook Principal Marsh's hand. Mr. Walsh looked him up and down. This is getting ridiculous. These kids collaborated. My son says Miller's been unstable. Dad turned to me. You unstable? No, sir. Dad looked back. There you go. Mike nearly choked, holding in a laugh. Inside, the committee reviewed the files on the projector. My drafts, her submissions, comments migrating from my account into hers, payment receipts. Mr. Walsh kept cutting in. Teenagers share notes. MS. Harper clicked to the next slide. Vanessa asking, can you write the conclusion and make it sound like I care more? The room went silent. Dad looked from me to Vanessa. She had you write her caring for her. Mrs. Blake snapped, do not mock my daughter. Lady, Dad said, I'm trying not to. The committee chair, Dr. Levin, adjusted his glasses. MS. Blake, did you submit any work substantially written by Ethan Miller? He helped me, she whispered. That wasn't the question. Her eyes filled again. I don't remember every draft. I do, I said. I clicked one more file and opened the document history. My name showed on 83% of the edits. Dr. Levin leaned forward. That's not tutoring. Mr. Grant shifted in his seat. MS. Harper added, there's also the scholarship slot. Marsh nodded. Mr. Miller's nomination stands. Ms. Blake stays suspended until the review is complete. Mr. Walsh slapped the table. This school is making a mistake. Dad leaned in, calm as a parked truck. No, looks like the mistake was thinking my boy would keep quiet. Mr. Walsh stared. Dad stared back. Nobody moved. Afterward, Dad and I walked to his old pickup. The passenger door squealed. He cranked the engine twice before it caught. You paid $480 for that, girl. I buckled up. Yes, sir. You got a receipt? Yes, sir. He nodded. Good. Never be generous without paperwork. We drove home with the heater rattling. At dinner, Mom set meatloaf on the table and asked for the whole story. She was still in her hospital shoes, a bandage on one thumb. I laid out the facts. No drama. No softages. She put her fork down when I got to Derek's text about Dad. Truck monkey, she repeated. Dad kept eating. Don't worry. Rich kids run out of insults before working folks run out of miles. Mom pointed at me. You study tonight. No more rescuing people who bite. Yes, ma'am. That night I cleared my desk. Vanessa's old worksheets went into a trash bag. Her flashcards. Her practice essays. Her urgent notes. I carried it all out to the bin and dropped it in. The lid slammed at 6 the next morning. I set a new schedule. School, practice, exams, garage shift, more practice, sleep, repeat. No Vanessa calls. No emergency essays. No last-minute rides. Monday she was waiting near the library doors, a blue binder pressed to her chest. The hallway was nearly empty. She looked smaller without her crowd. Ethan, I have a calculus quiz tomorrow. I kept walking. She stepped in front of me. Please, just 1 hour. I can't fail this. I stopped. Ask Derek. She flinched. Derek doesn't understand math. That never bothered you when he understood money. She grabbed my sleeve. I pulled my arm back. Don't touch me. Her eyes flicked past me, and Derek came around the corner, holding his phone low. I turned toward the library desk. Ms. Harper sat there with a stack of graded tests. Mike stepped out from behind the vending machine, also recording. Bad angle, Derek. Try portrait mode. Derek froze. Vanessa let out a sharp breath. You set me up. No, I just stopped walking alone once liars started carrying cameras. Ms. Harper stood. Vanessa, Derek, leave this hallway. Derek pocketed his phone. We were just talking. Cool, Mike said. Then you won't mind showing the first 20 seconds. Derek said nothing. Ms. Harper looked at Vanessa. If you need academic help, submit a tutoring request through the office. Do not approach Ethan privately again. Vanessa's mouth trembled. Everybody treats me like a criminal now. I picked up my binder off the floor where she'd knocked it. Then stopped acting like one. The quiz came Tuesday. Vanessa stared at her paper like it was written in code. I finished in 18 minutes, checked every answer, and turned it in. A substitute ran the class now, since Mr. Grant had been pulled during the review. Vanessa watched me walk out. By lunch, the scores posted. I got 100. She got a 62. The hallway reacted before she did. Amber Foster whispered, maybe it was just a bad day. Mike pointed at the board. For Ethan, or for whoever used to do the work. Vanessa spun toward him. You're disgusting. Mike bowed. And yet I can divide fractions. Derek shoved the score sheet off the wall. Vice Principal Cole caught him. Pick it up. It fell. Pick it up. Derek picked it up while freshmen giggled. That Friday, the full-length practice SAT results came in. The school posted the top 20. My name sat at number 1 of 1580. Vanessa wasn't on the list. Neither was Derek. Mike came in at 14 and acted like he'd won the Super Bowl. Academic weapon, baby. He slapped the wall. Vanessa came out of the counseling office with Mr. Grant behind her. She saw the list. Her face dropped. Derek walked up, scanned the names, and said too loudly, practice tests don't matter. I stood by the water fountain. Then why did Vanessa ask me to skip mine last year to help her study? A junior nearby said, damn. Derek pointed. One score doesn't get you into Harvard. No, but it gets me away from you. Mr. Grant snapped, enough. MS. Harper stepped out of her classroom. Mr. Grant, the district asked you to avoid direct involvement with Ethan's academic file during review. The hall went silent. His neck reddened. I'm still employed here. Then follow the instruction. Mike whispered. She cooked him. Vanessa tried a new tactic the following week. She started smiling again. She told students she wished me well. She told teachers I was under stress. She brought cupcakes to calculus. She asked Mr. Lawson to check on me because I seemed angry. Mr. Lawson told her to buy a tire or leave. Then came the state academic fair registration deadline. My project was a low-cost farm sensor rig built from salvage parts, a cheap microcontroller, and code I clean up every night after work. It measured soil moisture, predicted watering needs, and adjusted flow using parts A. Farmer could swap out with a screwdriver. Derek called it hillbilly sprinklers. Vanessa called it cute. I kept receipts, version logs, photos, backup drives. Every file had timestamps. Every test had video. Every prototype had my initials scratched under the base plate with a pocket knife. On a Wednesday afternoon, I walked into the lab and found cabinet 4 open. My old binder was gone, not the current one. The old one, with the early design that overheated after 6 minutes. I checked the sign-in sheet. A student assistant named Tyler Brooks had signed in during lunch. Tyler Brooks ran with Derek's crowd. Mike saw my face and came over. Somebody stole something. I looked at the empty shelf. The wrong thing. Mike grinned slowly. That sounds like the right thing. I reported it to Ms. Harper. She filed the incident and asked if I wanted the lab locked down. I said no. She studied me for 3 seconds, then nodded. You're documenting everything. I lifted my phone. Everything. The state preliminary fair took place in the Westbridge gym. Folding tables, poster boards, judges with clipboards, parents pretending not to brag. Vanessa arrived in a navy blazer and white blouse, standing beside a polished display titled Equitable Water Intelligence for Tomorrow. Derek carried the device like he'd built it with his own hands. I recognized my old casing. They'd painted it white. Mike leaned over my table. They stole your toaster. I tightened a wire on my current rig. Watch the clock. Vanessa presented before me, beaming at the judges. My project empowers small agricultural communities with affordable predictive irrigation. A judge asked, what sensor calibration method did you use? Her smile widened. A community-based adaptive model. The judge blinked. Could you explain that technically? Derek jumped in. The algorithm adjusts automatically. The device clicked. Then again. Then smoke curled from a side vent. A freshman shouted, it's burning. Vanessa stepped back. Derek grabbed the plug and yanked it. The gym laughed before the teachers could stop it. Judge Patel lifted the casing with a pencil. This wiring is unsafe. It worked earlier, Vanessa stammered. Mike muttered, for 6 minutes, champ. Judge Patel checked the project sheet. Do you have development logs? Vanessa handed over a thin binder. He flipped 3 pages. These logs start 4 days ago. I refined the concept quickly. My turn came 11 minutes later. I set my rig on the table, hooked it to 3 soil trays, and ran the sequence. Water moved through clear tubes in short, controlled pulses. The cheap screen showed moisture levels, predicted needs, and power draw. Judge Patel watched the numbers. How long has this version been tested? I handed him the log binder. Current build, 93 hours. Earlier failed versions logged, 2. He turned pages and stopped at a photo of the old white painted casing before the paint. He glanced toward Vanessa's table. This looks familiar. Yes, sir. Vanessa's head snapped up. Derek cursed under his breath. Judge Patel called the other judges over. I opened my laptop and showed the version history. Prototype A, overheated. Prototype B, unstable calibration. Prototype C, current. Photos, dates, test videos, my initials under the base plates. Judge Patel picked up Vanessa's dead casing and looked underneath. There, under white paint scorched by heat, sat my initials, M. The gym went quiet in a wave. Ms. Blake, who built this device? Her lips parted. Derek said, we bought parts from the same supplier. I lifted my current rig and showed the underside. Same scratch, same hand, different prototype. That one disappeared from the school lab last week. MS. Harper stepped forward with the incident report. A missing materials report was filed the day it vanished. Near the bleachers, Tyler Brooks turned red. Vice Principal Cole walked straight toward him. I didn't know, Vanessa whispered. Shut up, Derek snapped. Everyone heard it. Judge Patel removed Vanessa's score sheet. This entry is disqualified pending review. She grabbed the table edge. Please. This fair matters for college. So who does honesty? My project won the state preliminary. 3 local farmers who'd come for the community demo asked questions after the awards. One of them, Mr. Harlan, wore a seed company cap and had hands cracked from work. That thing really run on parts that cheap. Yes, sir. Bring out Saturday. I'll give you a field, row, and a hose. Dad drove me to Harlan's farm before sunrise. Mike came with a cooler and appointed himself project manager. Mr. Harlan tested the rig on a greenhouse row with uneven soil. It managed the water flow better than his timer system. He smacked his cap against his leg. Boy, that's not a science fair toy. That's useful. Mike filmed the demo and posted a clip. Westbridge kid builds irrigation rig from scrap. Because rich kids were busy stealing the broken one. By Sunday night, it had 80,000 views. By Monday morning, a local news station emailed Ms. Harper. By lunch, Derek looked like he'd swallowed a bolt. Vanessa stopped making eye contact. The school tried to celebrate my state win with a morning announcement. Principal Marsh read it over the PA. Students clapped in first period. Then Derek wrecked his own day. He stood in the hall after second period and said, "Enjoy being a charity case celebrity." I turned around. Students slowed. "Say it louder." He smirked. "You heard me." I stepped closer. "No, I want the local news camera to hear you." He looked left. Mike stood 10 feet away with a phone. Beside him waited a reporter, there to interview Ms. Harper. Derek's face changed. Mike waved. "Charity case celebrity, take 2. The reporter raised her eyebrows. Derek walked away. A sophomore yelled, "Run, trust fund." The clip hit the forum before the final bell. The next day, Derek issued an apology written by an adult. Mike read it aloud in the parking lot. My words did not reflect my values. Bro, your words are your values wearing sneakers. Vanessa tried to peel herself away from him, posting, "I never condone cruelty." I commented with a screenshot of her message about the poor people struggle stuff. She deleted the post. The district review wrapped 3 days later. Vanessa's suspended nomination was revoked. Her state fair disqualification stood. Her college application materials had to be amended wherever school verification was involved. Mr. Grant was removed from senior recommendation duties, pending further review. He still came to school, but his office doors stayed shut. Students stopped asking him for help. He stopped looking at me. For 2 weeks, I worked practice exams, project refinements, scholarship forms, garage shifts. Mom left sandwiches on my desk when she got home late. Dad fixed the truck in the driveway while I tested code on the porch. Sometimes Mike came over and read flashcards badly on purpose. Photosynthesis is when plants do taxes. I threw a pencil at him. He ducked. Great reflexes, Harvard. The National Merit Academic Challenge exam came first. Westbridge sent 4 students to the Regional Testing Center. Me, 2 juniors, and Vanessa as an alternate, since her paperwork had been filed before the review ended. Derek drove her there in his SUV. She wore a gray sweater and no smile. Before we went in, she walked up to me near the glass doors. "Please don't make today harder." I adjusted my backpack. "I'm here to take a test." She glanced at Derek, then back at me. "You know everyone's watching me. Then give them something honest to see." Derek stepped over. "You just can't stop, can you? I stopped months ago. That's the problem for you." The proctor opened the doors. We tested for 4 hours. No speeches, no tricks. Just paper, pencils, and silence. When I came out, Mike waited in the parking lot with 2 burgers. "How bad did you kill it?" I took one. "Clean." Vanessa came out 8 minutes later, pale and stiff. Derek asked her something. She snapped back. He threw his hands up. The regional results posted 10 days later. I ranked first in the state. Vanessa didn't qualify for nationals through the exam. The same day, my project advanced to the national finals through the state competition. Westbridge had to put my photo on the front page of the school website. They chose one from the farm demo, me kneeling beside the rig, dirt on my jeans. Mike said, "You look like a mechanic who defeated a calculator." Mom printed the page and taped it to the fridge. Dad pretended not to stare at it over his coffee. The attention drew new people. Students who'd ignore me asked for help. Teachers who'd never learned my name said congratulations. Amber Foster tried to smile at me in English. "No," I said. I didn't say anything. "Good." Vanessa's circle shrank. Derek still walked beside her, but they fought in low voices near lockers and stairwells. One afternoon, I heard him hiss, "My dad stuck his neck out for you." She snapped back, "Your dad didn't write my essays either." Mike heard it too. Trouble in Parasite Paradise. In late March, college decisions started rolling out. A few kids got into state schools. One girl got into Cornell and cried so hard the nurse brought tissues. Vanessa had counted on early praise from several universities. Instead, she got application under additional review emails from 3 schools that had received updates from Westbridge. She cornered me after senior seminar. "You've ruined everything." I zipped my notebook into my backpack. "No, I removed my name from your work. That's all." Her voice cracked. "You don't get it. People like me have to be perfect." I zipped the bag. "People like me have to be useful until we're allowed to be seen." She stared. I walked past her. In the hallway, Derek waited. "National finals are in Chicago, right?" "Yes." He smiled without any warmth. "Big city, big stage. Lots can happen." I stepped close enough that his smile faded. "Then bring better threats." The old ones got boring. He jammed his hands in his pockets and walked off. I emailed Ms. Harper about it. She forwarded it to Principal Marsh, who told me to avoid Derek and report any contact. I did both, until Derek made that impossible. The night before the bus left for Chicago, I was closing at Lawson's when Derek pulled up with Tyler Brooks in the passenger seat. Vanessa wasn't with them. Mr. Lawson had already left for a parts run. Mike was sweeping the back bay. Derek walked in holding an envelope. "Here's how this ends." Mike leaned on the broom. "Usually with you embarrassing yourself." Derek ignored him and tossed the envelope onto a workbench. It slid through a streak of oil. $5,000. "You missed the bus tomorrow. Say you got sick. Nobody cares. Vanessa gets breathing room. You get money your family obviously needs." I looked at it. Your bribe got dirty. His face tightened. "Don't act above money. Your mom scrubs hospital floors." Mike's broom hit the concrete. "Say one more word about his mom." Derek stepped toward him. I moved between them. "You want me gone because you know she can't win while I'm standing there." Tyler Brooks stared at the floor. Derek pointed. "You think Chicago judges care about your sad little farm story? My dad knows people. Vanessa still has options." I wiped my hands on a rag and picked the envelope up with 2 fingers. I opened it. Cash. Chris bills. I held it toward the security camera above the office door. "Derek Walsh just offered me $5,000 to skip the national finals," I said. clear and loud. His mouth opened. Mike lifted his phone from behind a toolbox. And I got the sound this time. Tyler Brooks backed toward the door. Derek lunged for Mike. I caught Derek's jacket and shoved him against the workbench. Tools rattled. "Leave," I said. He swung his arm. I ducked, and his hand cracked against the metal shelf. He yelled. Mr. Lawson's headlights swept across the garage door as he pulled in. He stepped out, saw Derek, saw the cash, saw Mike recording. "Well," he said, "this looks educational." Derek clutched his hand. "He attacked me." Mr. Lawson pointed at the camera. "Then the camera will make you famous." Derek grabbed for the envelope, but I stepped on it. "Evidence stays." Tyler Brooks bolted. Derek left after calling me a dead man twice. Mr. Lawson locked the door and called Dad. Then he called Principal Marsh. Then he called the police non-emergency line because he said rich kids needed paperwork like everyone else. The next morning, Derek wasn't at school. Vanessa was. She stood near the bus with a suitcase and a stiff face. Her alternate paperwork had somehow gotten her approved to attend as a student observer, not a competitor. When she saw me, she came over fast. "Did you report Derek?" I loaded my project case into the storage compartment. "Yes." She gripped her bag strap. "His father is furious." "Good." She glanced at the teachers. "You don't understand what they'll do." I turned toward her. "You keep saying that. Then they do something stupid, and I record it." Her lips pressed tight. Ms. Harper called from the bus steps. "Ethan, we're boarding." I walked past Vanessa. She followed to the bus, but Ms. Harper blocked her. "Vanessa, your seat is in the second bus with observers. I need to speak with Ethan." "No, you don't." Mike leaned out the window. "Try email. Subject line, apology draft 97. The bus laughed. Vanessa stepped back as the doors closed. Chicago was colder than Westbridge and louder than anything near our school. The national finals filled the convention center. Banners, bright lights, sponsor booths. Students from every state guarding their projects like crown jewels. I kept mine plain. No flashy graphics, no booze boards. Just the rig, soil trays, test data, and a short video from Harlan's farm. The first round went clean. Judge after judge asked about cost, durability, repair, scale code. I answered straight. One judge in a gray suit asked, "Why not target commercial agriculture first?" I pointed to the replacement parts laid out on the table. Because big operations already have vendors. Small farms need something they can fix on a Saturday without waiting 3 weeks. He nodded and wrote for 20 seconds. Mike stood behind the visitor rope, giving me thumbs up like a maniac. Ms. Harper watched from the side, arms folded. Vanessa appeared near the booth after the judges moved on. "No Derek, no Amber Foster, no Circle. You did well," she said quietly. I packed a sensor back into the case. "Yes." She swallowed. "I'm sorry about Derek. That's between Derek and the people he threatens." She stepped closer to the rope. "I'm sorry about the essays." I looked at her. "Say it louder." Her eyes flicked around. Competitors stood nearby. A judge was still within earshot. "Please don't," she whispered. "Then you're not sorry. You're negotiating." She gripped the rope. "What do you want from me?" I clicked the case latch shut. "Nothing." That answer hit her harder than any argument. She stepped back. "We used to be friends." "No, I used to be useful." The second round was on stage. Finalists presented to a panel and a live audience. Vanessa sat in the middle rows with the Westbridge observers. Derek was nowhere. Mr. Grant was nowhere. Principal Marsh had flown in that morning as the media attention grew. She shook my hand before the presentation. "Represent yourself well." "Yes, ma'am." On stage, the lights ran hot. The microphone stood too high, so I lowered it. A few people laughed softly. I started with the rig running beside me. My father drives freight. My mother cleans hospital rooms. I work at a garage. I built this because working people don't need another expensive system they can't repair. The screen showed the farm row. Water usage dropped. Crop stress indicators improved. Energy draw stayed low. I kept the words plain: cost, build, repair, results. A judge said, "Your early prototype failed." I clicked to the ugly photo of prototype, burned and crooked. The audience laughed. "Yes, sir. It overheated in 6 minutes." Somebody later stole that version and painted it white. It's still overheated in 6 minutes. The Westbridge students made noise in the back. The judge smiled. And what did that teach you? That failure is useful when you own it, and dangerous when you steal it. The room clapped. The panel asked 9 more questions. I answered all 9. No fluff. No panique. When I walked off, Mike grabbed my shoulders. You smoked them, man. Ms. Harper said, volume. Mike whispered loudly, you academically destroyed them. The awards were that evening. Before the ceremony, Derek finally showed up in the lobby with his father. Mr. Walsh's suit looked more expensive than the hotel carpet. Derek's hand was wrapped. Mr. Walsh walked straight at me. Dad stepped between us. He'd driven 9 hours overnight after his last route and arrived in his work jacket. Mom stood beside him, still in her church shoes because she said nice shoes were for nice days. Your son has done serious damage to mine, Mr. Walsh said. Dad looked at Derek's wrapped hand. Your son hit a shelf, trying to grab a phone. Mr. Walsh went red. You people always want to drag everyone down to your level. Mom stepped forward. Our level has receipts. Mike coughed to hide a laugh. Mr. Walsh turned to me. Withdraw your complaint about the money. Derek's future shouldn't be damaged over a misunderstanding. I pulled out my phone. Want to hear the misunderstanding? Dad, don't, Derek said. Mr. Walsh grabbed his arm. Vanessa stood 20 feet away, watching. I pressed play. Derek's recorded voice. $5,000. You missed the bus tomorrow. Say you got sick. People in the lobby turned. Mr. Walsh lunged for the phone, and Dad caught his wrist. Don't, he said calmly. Security moved in. Mr. Walsh yanked free and straightened his jacket. A guard said, Sir, step away from the student. This isn't over, Mr. Walsh hissed. It is for tonight, Mom said. We walked into the ceremony together. Dad's boots squeaked on the polished floor. Mom held my project program like it was a Bible. Mike kept whispering fake award predictions. Best use of duct tape. Most likely to make rich kids cry. Outstanding achievement in not being Derek. MS. Harper shushed him 3 times and smiled on the 3rd. The awards started with honorable mentions, then category winners, then national finalists. My category came late. The host read 3rd place. Not me. 2nd place. Not me. Mike grabbed my sleeve. The host opened the final card. 1st place, National Applied Science and Innovation Award. Ethan Miller, Westbridge High. The room rose before I reached the stage. Mom covered her mouth. Dad clapped like he was trying to start an engine. Ms. Harper stood straight, both hands going. Mike yelled, "That's my grease boy." People laughed and clapped harder. I took the plaque. Cameras flashed. The host continued. Ethan also receives the National Scholars Foundation Full Tuition Award, renewable for 4 years. Mom started crying then, loud enough that Dad wrapped an arm around her. And we're pleased to announce that several partner universities have requested interviews with Ethan for their engineering honors programs. The applause rolled again. I looked out and saw Vanessa sitting frozen. Derek sat 3 seats away, jaw tight. Mr. Walsh stared at the floor. Principal Marsh clapped. Ms. Harper clapped. My parents clapped. That was enough. After the ceremony, a reporter stopped me near the sponsor wall. Ethan, your project has drawn attention because of your background and the controversy. At your school, what do you want people to take from this? I held the plaque at my side. Working kids don't need pity. They need people to stop standing in their way. What would you say to students pressured to give up opportunities for someone else? Help people when you can, but don't hand them your future and call it kindness. Vanessa heard it. She walked over after the reporter left. Her makeup faded under the lobby lights. Congratulations. Thank you. She twisted the strap of her purse. I know I hurt you. You used me. She nodded once. I used you. It was the first honest sentence I'd heard from her in years. Then she ruined it. Can you tell Principal Marsh I helped you early on? Not much, just enough that colleges see I wasn't trying to steal. If you say we collaborated, maybe they'll stop reviewing my applications. I stared at her until she looked away. There it is. Her face tightened. Ethan, please. I'll lose everything. No, you'll lose what was never yours. She grabbed my sleeve again, then dropped it when Mom glanced over. You already won, she whispered. Why can't you be generous? I stepped back. Because you call it generosity when I pay. You call it cruelty when I stop. Derek came up behind her. Leave him. He loves this. I turned to him. How's your hand? Mike appeared at my side. How's your shelf? Derek took a step, saw security, and stopped. Vanessa rounded on him. This is your fault too. He laughed harshly. My fault? I covered for you. You made everything worse. You needed me when you couldn't pass a practice test. She slapped him. The crack echoed across the lobby. Every phone came up. Derek grabbed his cheek, stunned. Vanessa backed away, breathing hard. I'm done. Mike whispered, season finale. Security stepped in before Derek could answer. I walked away with my family. The next week at Westbridge, everything moved fast. Principal Marsh held an emergency senior meeting and announced new rules for recommendation review, project verification, and tutoring boundaries. Mr. Grant was placed on administrative leave. Dr. Levin from the district took over scholarship certifications. Tyler Brooks admitted Derek paid him $200 to open the lab cabinet. He got suspended and lost his assistant position. Derek got suspended for threats, bribery, and harassment. His father resigned from the booster board after the district opened a conflict of interest investigation into donations tied to student recommendations. The science wing still carried his family name, but students started taping paper labels over it. One read Shelf Injury Research Center. Vice Principal Cole took it down and failed to hide a smile. Vanessa's consequences came in pieces. First, the state fair finalized her disqualification. Then Westbridge sent academic integrity updates to colleges where she'd used school-certified materials. Then her Honor Society membership was suspended. Then a local paper ran a short article about the national winner and the school's plagiarism review. It didn't name her, but everyone knew. Her cafeteria table emptied. Amber Foster sat somewhere else. Derek stopped coming for 2 weeks. Vanessa ate in the courtyard with headphones on. One afternoon, she stood at the announcement board where my national award photo was posted. I walked up to pin a tutoring schedule for underclassmen, real tutoring, group sessions. No essays, no private favors. She looked at the flyer. So now you help people. I pinned the bottom corner. People who do their own work. She nodded slowly. I got rejected from Northbridge. I said nothing. Waitlisted at Hampton. Review hold at Lakeview. I stepped back from the board. My mom says we may have to move after graduation. I picked up my bag. Her voice turned bitter. You don't care. No. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. I don't celebrate it either, I said. I'm just not carrying it. She looked down. I really thought you'd always be there. That was your mistake. I left her at the board. My own college news came on a Thursday at 5:42 p.m. I was in the garage swapping brake pads when my phone buzzed. Email. Millstone University. Honors Engineering Program. Full tuition covered by the National Scholars Foundation. Housing grant added. Research placement offered. Summer bridge program invited. I read it once, then handed the phone to Mr. Lawson. He squinted. That a yes. That's a yes. He wiped his hands on his shirt and shouted toward the office. The kid's out. Dad arrived 10 minutes later because Mr. Lawson called him before I did. Mom showed up still in scrubs, hairnet marks across her forehead. Mike arrived with a grocery store cake that said you did it, Eric, because they got my name wrong and he was too cheap to fix it. Mom hugged me, so hard my ribs ached. Dad held out his hand, then pulled me into a hug anyway. Good work, son, he said gruffly. Mr. Lawson shoved a socket wrench into my hand. For your dorm. Never trust campus furniture. Mike cut the cake with a plastic putty knife. To Eric. My name is Ethan. He raised his slice. Not according to the bakery. Monday morning, Westbridge put the acceptance on the big lobby screen. Congratulations, Ethan Miller, Millstone Honors Engineering, full scholarship. Students clapped when I walked in. Some meant it. Some followed the crowd. Mike bowed beside me like my bodyguard. Vanessa stood near the stairs. She watched the screen, then walked over, voice low. Millstone was my dream school. I looked at the screen. Mine too. She swallowed. Can you tell them I help with your early project? Maybe not officially. Just if they ask. Mike barked a laugh. Vanessa flinched. I turned to her. You stole my failed prototype, submitted my writing, lied to the school, and tried to frame me in a hallway. I said I was sorry, she whispered. You said it when you needed something. Students had stopped moving. The whole lobby listened. Her eyes filled. You have everything now. I shook my head. No, I have what I earned. Derek appeared at the front doors in a wrinkled hoodie, back from suspension. He saw the screen. He saw us. He laughed once. Full ride. Goo. Still not our class. Dad's voice came from behind me. He'd come in for a meeting with Principal Marsh about the scholarship ceremony. Good, Dad said. Your class seems expensive and defective. The lobby erupted. Derek stared. Dad stepped up beside me in his work jacket, cap in hand. You must be the boy who tried to buy my son for $5,000. Derek's mouth opened. Bad offer, Dad said. Mike whispered fatality. Principal Marsh came out of the office. Derek, my office. Now. He pointed at Dad. He insulted me. No, Dad said. I appraised you. Marsh turned away fast, but I caught her mouth twitch. Derek went into the office. Vanessa stayed in the lobby. Alone again. At the scholarship ceremony in May, Westbridge tried to look polished. Folding chairs lined the gym. Parents filled the bleachers. A banner hung over the stage, Senior Honors Night. My parents sat in the front row. Dad wore a shirt with buttons. Mom wore a blue dress and kept smoothing it over her knees. Mike sat behind them with his mother, who kept telling him to stop bouncing his leg. Vanessa sat 4 rows back with her mother. Derek sat on the aisle with his father, both silent. Mr. Grant didn't come. MS. Harper presented the National Scholars Award. She stood at the podium and looked right at me. This student's work demonstrates rigor, persistence, originality, and an unwillingness to let pressure define his future. I walked up. She handed me the certificate and whispered, "Well done." Thank you. The applause lasted longer than I expected. After I sat, Principal Marsh announced policy reforms and new independent checks for recommendations. Polite applause from the adults. Real applause from the students who'd been overlooked for years. Then came a surprise. Mr. Harlan, the farmer from the demo, walked onto the stage in his seed cap. He cleared his throat at the mic. I don't speak fancy. This kid built something that worked. He showed up on time, answered straight, and didn't treat farmers like a charity case. So a few of us put together a tool grant for his summer build. He held up an envelope. It ain't millions, but it's honest. The gym stood. Dad clapped with both hands over his head. Mom cried again. Mike shouted, "Eric, Eric, Eric," and the whole back row joined. I took the envelope and shook Mr. Harlan's hand. Thank you, sir. Build the next one stronger. Yes, sir. After the ceremony, Vanessa approached with her mother. Mrs. Blake looked thinner without the sunglasses. Vanessa held herself stiff. Ethan, Mrs. Blake said, Vanessa has something to say. Vanessa looked at the floor. I'm sorry for taking credit for your work. I'm sorry for asking you for money. I'm sorry for lying about you. Mike stopped mid-cake bite behind me. Mom stood quietly beside Dad. Thank you for saying it, I said. Vanessa looked up, hope flashing. Would you be willing to write a statement that says I apologized and that you accept it? There was again. Dad made a low sound. Mrs. Blake gripped Vanessa's arm. Vanessa, she rushed on, not to erase everything, just to help with my appeal. The community college honors track said they might reconsider me later if there's evidence I made amends. Write your own statement, I said. Tell the truth. Don't use my name as a ladder. Her eyes hardened through the tears. You always make me beg. Mom stepped forward. No, honey. He finally stopped answering. Mrs. Blake pulled her back. Enough, she said quietly. They left. Derek tried one last time in the parking lot. He leaned against his SUV, keys in hand, acting like suspension hadn't stripped half his shine. Enjoy your scholarship, Miller. Some of us don't need one. I walked past with the certificate under my arm. Some of us can keep one. Mike made a choking noise. Derek stepped off the curb. Dad turned around. Derek stopped. Boy, Dad said, every time you move toward my son, you remember garage cameras and weak shelves. Derek got into his SUV and slammed the door. 3 days later, word spread that Derek's father had pulled him from Westbridge before. graduation, and enrolled him in a private remedial program out of state. Mike called it rich kid exile. Tyler Brooks transferred too. Mr. Grant resigned before the district hearing finished. The official email said personal reasons. MS. Harper read it, looked at me over her coffee, and said, personal reasons often arrive after professional consequences. Graduation came under a bright June sky on the football field. I wore a cap and gown over a shirt Mom ironed twice. Dad arrived early to grab seats. Mom brought tissues and denied bringing tissues while holding tissues. Mike had decorated his cap with the bakery's Eric in silver letters. Vanessa crossed the stage when her name was called. The applause was thin, but not cruel. She took her diploma and returned to her seat. No crown, no circle, no dereki. Just a girl who had to walk without someone else holding up the floor beneath her feet. When my name was called, the applause hit hard. Ethan Miller. I crossed the stage. Principal Marsh shook my hand. Dr. Levin shook my hand. MS. Harper stood at the faculty row and clapped. From the front bleachers, Dad shouted, "That's my boy." Mom cried into the tissue she swore she hadn't brought. I took the diploma, turned toward the field, and saw everything clearly because it was all outside me now, not trapped in my chest. The school, the stage, the people who doubted, the people who helped, the people who used me, the people who stood with me. After the ceremony, a local reporter found me near the fence. "Ethan, you've had quite a senior year. National champion, full scholarship, and A. Public fight over academic integrity. Any final words before college?" I held my diploma in one hand and the Tool grant envelope in the other. Mike stood nearby, making a face behind the camera until his mother smacked his arm. Vanessa lingered near the parking lot, listening. "Yes," I said. "Next time you ask a poor kid to give up his future, make sure you're not standing on everything he built." The reporter smiled. "And what comes next?" I looked at Dad's old pickup, at Mom waving me over, at Mr. Lawson leaning on the fence, at Ms. Harper talking with Principal Marsh, and Mike pretending to sign autographs for freshmen. I build. I study. I keep my name on my own work. Vanessa walked over one final time before I left. No crowd. No tears. No performance. "Goodbye, Ethan." I nodded. "Goodbye, Vanessa." She waited for more. I gave her nothing else. Dad started the pickup. The engine coughed, caught, and held steady because we'd replaced the bad starter with my prize money. Mom opened the passenger door. "Come on, college boy," Mike shouted from across the lot. "Don't forget us when you're famous, Eric." "Learn my name first," I shouted back. He raised both hands. "Never." I climbed into the truck with my diploma on my lap. Westbridge High shrank behind us as Dad pulled onto the road. The old truck rolled forward. Not fancy, not quiet, but ours. This time nobody sat on my back. Nobody held my form. Nobody spent my hours and called it love. I had a full ride, a national title, a family still standing, and a future with my own name stamped on every page.